The story of Sabrina and Kevin began with a youthful spark that lit up the horizon of life. At 17, Sabrina and Kevin, then 21, met at a U2 rock concert in Seattle, an event that would unknowingly mark their lives forever. The instant connection between them was a mix of excitement and tenderness, and young love quickly blossomed. For 3.5 years, their relationship seemed perfect, filled with promises and shared dreams. The world seemed small compared to the magnitude of the love they felt for each other. But reality, ruthless and relentless, tore them apart. Sabrina was forced to move to Boston for her studies, and the distance caused their relationship to crumble under the weight of longing and new responsibilities. The breakup was especially painful. The last conversation took place at Kerry Park, a place where they often met to enjoy the city view. There, amidst tears and hugs, they promised each other never to forget what they had experienced. However, the promises were not enough to prevent the inevitable collapse caused by the distance and the new paths they both had to follow. Sabrina met James at a business conference in New York, about a year after breaking up with Kevin. James was a charismatic and successful man, and the chemistry between them was immediate. They started dating shortly after returning to their respective cities, with Sabrina still residing in Seattle. The relationship evolved quickly, and within a year, James proposed to Sabrina during a romantic trip to Paris. They married in a lavish ceremony held in Central Park, surrounded by friends and family. However, James was hiding a devastating secret. He had known about his infertility since his youth, but kept it a secret from Sabrina, fearing that the truth might drive her away. Sabrina discovered the truth only after the wedding, during a medical consultation to discuss their plans to have children. The news of James's infertility was a hard blow, turning Sabrina's dream of starting a family into a silent nightmare. The struggle for motherhood became an agonizing journey. Sabrina and James resorted to artificial insemination treatments, a process that seemed like an insurmountable mountain. As time passed and frustration grew, their intimacy significantly diminished. Sexual relations became rare, and the connection that once existed began to dissipate. The absence of a promising marriage and the feeling of having made wrong choices in her relationship life began to haunt Sabrina. James, realizing the growing distance and Sabrina's suffering, finally deeply regretted hiding the truth about his infertility. One winter night, he found her sitting on the couch, lost in thought. He knelt before her, eyes filled with tears, and sincerely apologized for keeping the secret that was driving them apart. "I was so afraid of losing you, Sabrina," he said, his voice broken by emotion. "But now I see that hiding it only brought more pain. I'm so sorry. Please, forgive me." Sabrina listened to James's words and, despite the pain, felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She knew that the path to reconciliation and healing would be long, but James's honesty was an important first step. However, the absence of a promising marriage and the feeling that she had made wrong choices continued to haunt her. She found herself thinking about Kevin and what they could have had together. These thoughts became increasingly recurring, and she struggled to push them away, trying to focus on the present reality. However, the flame of Kevin's memory, fueled by dissatisfaction and loneliness, grew day by day. Kevin, on the other hand, followed a very different path after breaking up with Sabrina. He dedicated himself intensely to work, entering the technology sector in Seattle. He started his career as a systems analyst in a small company and, over the years, rose to leadership positions in a large technology corporation. Kevin worked tirelessly, known for his dedication and competence. His work became the main source of meaning and purpose in his life, but despite professional success, he never managed to find a love like the one he had with Sabrina. Kevin never married and did not have children. His romantic relationships, although significant in some aspects, never managed to reach the depth and connection he had experienced with Sabrina. The glow of that youthful love remained a constant shadow, influencing his choices and his view of future relationships. He often found himself lost in memories, revisited in moments of loneliness, and felt an emptiness that no other relationship could fill. While Sabrina struggled with her own choices and the pain of an impossible motherhood, Kevin was also dealing with the weight of memories and the void left by Sabrina's absence in his life. He dedicated himself to work, trying to fill the space left by the loss. But each new experience seemed a distant echo of what had been. He constantly found himself returning to the moments he had spent with Sabrina, reflecting on what could have been. Sabrina and Kevin's paths had diverged, but fate, with its ironies and surprises, might have other plans for them. Time, which had separated and healed, could also bring them together again. As Sabrina faced the challenge of her impossible motherhood and Kevin grappled with the weight of longing, both were about to discover that the past, far from being a closed chapter, still had much to say about the future. Fate, with its cruel and capricious irony, brought Kevin back into Sabrina's life in an event that seemed like a scene from the past unfolding in the present. The reunion took place at a charity conference for an organization supporting couples with fertility issues, held in Chicago. Kevin was present as one of the event's main sponsors, having generously contributed to the cause and taking the opportunity to make important contacts in the industry. Sabrina, accompanied by her husband James, was there as an advocate for the same cause, trying to find hope and new solutions for her personal struggle to conceive. When Sabrina spotted Kevin in the crowd, she felt a punch in the gut. He was dressed elegantly and casually, in a dark suit and white shirt, exuding the same confidence she remembered. Sabrina was wearing a navy blue silk dress, with an elegant and simple cut, enhancing her grace and sophistication. James was by her side, in a dark gray suit and black tie, trying to maintain a calm demeanor, but his attentive gaze showed his concern for his wife. The sight of Kevin, with his unmistakable charm and the same passionate intensity she remembered, stirred feelings that Sabrina had carefully tried to bury. The casual encounter turned into something deeper when Kevin approached Sabrina to greet her. James, noticing the tension between them, made an effort to keep his distance, but his constant presence seemed a reminder of Sabrina's commitment to him. The meeting between Kevin and Sabrina was marked by a mix of embarrassment and excitement. Both were clearly out of their comfort zones, trying to deal with the intensity of the emotions that were surfacing. Kevin tried to start a casual conversation to ease the awkwardness, resulting in a dialogue that seemed both clumsy and full of human warmth. "Do you still remember those songs we used to listen to together?" Kevin asked, trying to break the ice. Sabrina laughed nervously, shaking her head. "Yes, I remember. Those were good times. And you? Do you still listen to those old bands?" Kevin smiled, with a nostalgic gleam in his eyes. "Yes, once in a while. It's funny how some things don't change, isn't it? Time passes, but some memories seem to remain intact." The tone of the conversation was light, but there was an underlying intimacy that made the words carry significant weight. They were talking about trivial things, like old bands and music, but each sentence seemed to bear an emotional burden. The awkwardness they felt was being softened by the familiarity and affection that still existed between them. As they conversed, Sabrina decided to share the truth about her current marriage with Kevin. She spoke with a tone of despair and frustration, revealing James's insecurity and immaturity. "James? He's wonderful in many ways, but he has his insecurities. He's immature in certain things, and, most importantly, he hid his infertility from me before we got married. I only found out after we were married. It's been an immense burden for both of us." Kevin listened attentively, his heart aching as he realized the depth of Sabrina's pain. "I'm so sorry, Sabrina. I had no idea you were going through this. It must be very difficult to deal with all this." Sabrina nodded, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "Yes, it's very hard. I try to keep hope, but sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart. I feel like I'm trapped in a cycle of pain and frustration." It was in this moment of vulnerability that Kevin felt a deep urge to offer his help, even though he knew the proposal would be fraught with complexity. With a choked voice and eyes shining with emotion, he moved closer to Sabrina. "Sabrina, I've always dreamed that you would be the mother of my children. If I can do anything to help you achieve that dream, I will. Even if it means you keeping your promise to James, I'm willing to do it for you. I want to be by your side, even if it's in the shadows." Kevin's proposal was a complex mix of hope and despair, an offer that Sabrina felt like a sharp blade piercing her heart. What he was offering was both a lifeline and an invitation to the abyss. Sabrina was torn between the overwhelming passion she felt for Kevin and the deep commitment she had to James. The idea of accepting the proposal felt like emotional torture, a conflict of desires and guilt that tormented her. Sabrina tried to escape the unfolding scenario, seeking refuge among the crowds and hiding in a more secluded area of the venue. But fate seemed to have other plans. Kevin followed her, his determination evident, and found her in a more private corner of the hall. There, the words and glances became even more intense. Every attempt to escape only deepened the desire and need she felt. The following hours were a torment of uncertainties and pain. Sabrina found herself immersed in a sea of tears and anguish, struggling against the whirlwind of feelings consuming her. Every thought of Kevin, every touch, every word of his proposal intertwined with the image of James, creating a tangled web of pain and desire. The anguish was unbearable, and the internal struggle seemed like an endless battle. After an interminable night of reflection and suffering, Sabrina yielded to the desire that consumed her. The decision was made in a moment of weakness and longing, and she plunged into a forbidden relationship with Kevin. The pleasure she found with him was intense, but the guilt and pain were also overwhelming. Every moment with Kevin became a torment, a constant struggle between the passion that filled her heart and the obligation that kept her loyal to James. Sabrina knew the road ahead was filled with shadows and dilemmas. Every step felt like a battle between fulfilling her dreams and the pain of her choices. The decision to give in to desire and get involved with Kevin would lead her down a winding and unpredictable path, where the ghosts of the past and the responsibilities of the present intertwined in a complex manner. The future seemed uncertain, but one thing was clear. Sabrina was about to face an emotional journey that would require more strength and courage than she had ever imagined. The secret relationship between Sabrina and Kevin was a painful dance between love and guilt. Every encounter, although filled with intoxicating passion, was also a constant battle against the crushing weight of the secret they both carried. Sabrina, with the promise of an uncertain future, gave herself to Kevin's love while struggling to maintain the facade of a perfect life with James. Every touch, every kiss shared between Sabrina and Kevin was a reminder of the love that had to remain hidden in the shadows. Their clandestine meetings were always meticulously planned to avoid suspicion. One of their favorite places for these moments of secrecy was the charming and discreet Café Noir, located on a quiet street in Seattle. There, amid the aroma of coffee and the soft murmur of other patrons' conversations, Sabrina and Kevin found a temporary refuge for their passion. They would sit at a table in the most secluded corner, away from curious eyes, and engage in whispered conversations and intense glances, trying to forget the weight of their secrets. Other times, they would meet at a vacation apartment Kevin had rented on the Oregon coast, a small and secluded cabin near the town of Cannon Beach. The location offered the privacy they needed, with stunning views of the Pacific Ocean and a tranquil environment where they could express their love without the constant fear of being discovered. These escapades were moments of relief, but also deep anguish, as they knew they were living in a world of illusions that could not be sustained forever. The news that Sabrina was pregnant came as a devastating and transformative revelation. The first sign was a delay in her period, which left her with conflicting feelings. Sabrina felt fear and anxiety at the thought of being pregnant, but at the same time, a part of her secretly wished it were true. She knew that a baby would change everything, but it could also be the realization of a dream she and Kevin had silently shared. She couldn't hide her emotions from Kevin, who noticed her growing concern. "Sabrina, are you okay?" he asked, holding her hands tenderly. Sabrina, with tears in her eyes, confessed, "Kevin, I think I'm pregnant. My period is late and I don't know what to do." Kevin's reaction was a mix of surprise and hope. He hugged her tightly, feeling the intensity of the moment. "If it's true, it will be a gift, Sabrina. A gift from us. We'll face this together." The following days were an emotional roller coaster for Sabrina. She bought a pregnancy test and, with a racing heart, locked herself in the bathroom. When she saw the 2 lines indicating a positive result, a whirlwind of feelings overwhelmed her. She felt joy, fear, excitement, and dread all at once. Time passed, and Sabrina finally scheduled a medical appointment to confirm the pregnancy and start prenatal care. During the initial exams, she and Kevin received another overwhelming surprise. Sabrina was not pregnant with one baby, but with two twins. When the doctor revealed the news, Sabrina was stunned. "Twins?" she repeated, staring in disbelief at the ultrasound screen. Kevin, by her side, held her hand and laughed nervously. "This is incredible, Sabrina. Twins." Back in her daily routine, Sabrina knew she needed to tell James about the pregnancy. She felt nervous but was determined to maintain the narrative of a divine miracle. That night, while they were having dinner, Sabrina took a deep breath and held James' hand. "James, I have incredible news for you. God has blessed us in a way I can't even describe."
I'm pregnant.
James was momentarily speechless, his face lighting up with a mix of surprise and joy. "Pregnant? Really? This is wonderful, Sabrina." Sabrina smiled, but there was more to tell. "Yes, but that's not all. I have one more surprise. We are not just having one baby. We are expecting two twins." James looked at her, incredulous. "Two babies? Twins? This is truly a miracle from God, Sabrina. I can hardly believe it." "I know," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's a divine gift, a true blessing for us." While Sabrina and James celebrated the news, Kevin, in silence, dealt with his own conflicting emotions. The joy of knowing he would be the father of twins was undeniable, but the secret of his paternity was a constant weight. He knew that, for now, he needed to keep the truth hidden, even if it meant enduring the pain of living on the fringes of this new and precious life. As the pregnancy progressed, the reality of the secret became increasingly oppressive. The growing tension between Sabrina and Kevin created moments of despair and vulnerability, where their love was tested by each new challenge. The fear that the truth might be discovered, and the possibility of losing everything they had built, hung over them like the sword of Damocles, threatening to shatter the fragile structure of their lives. The stage was set for an inevitable revelation, a moment when the lies and secrets would have to face the harsh and unyielding reality. Sabrina and Kevin's journey was filled with anguish and hope, and the road ahead promised to be a labyrinth of difficult choices and profound consequences. The love they shared, though intense and true, was surrounded by shadows that could eventually threaten to engulf everything they had built. Time passed, the nausea subsided, and Sabrina's belly grew, visibly marking the advancement of the pregnancy. The day of the birth arrived with an emotional intensity that Sabrina could never have predicted. The hospital was filled with an atmosphere of expectation and anxiety. James, his heart overflowing with happiness, awaited the birth of the twins with pure joy and absolute confidence in the miracle he believed he had created. He was by Sabrina's side, holding her hand with a love she knew was sincere, but she also knew his presence was a facade, a mask for the painful secret that lay beneath the surface. When the first signs of life came, the environment transformed into a controlled chaos of emotion. Sabrina felt an overwhelming wave of feelings as she gave birth to the twins. The experience of childbirth was intense and challenging, but the moment the babies were born brought undeniable joy and profound relief. Each cry from the twins seemed like a symphony of love and pain, a constant reminder of the complex and secretive life she now had to face. James, with his paternal enthusiasm, had chosen the name Mark for one of his children. He felt that the name carried a weight of strength and hope, a legacy of values he wanted to pass on. Sabrina chose the name Sophia at Kevin's request as a silent gesture of love and devotion, reflecting the beauty and grace he saw in the daughter he could not raise. Despite being only a few meters away, Kevin lived in torturous solitude. The hospital was a constant reminder of his pain and unfulfilled desire. He walked slowly to the maternity ward, fighting the urge to enter the room and see his children. However, courage failed him. The fear of facing Sabrina, the weight of the secret, and the pain of being so close yet so distant paralyzed him. As Kevin stayed outside the room, he watched from afar, his eyes fixed on the door as if waiting for a miracle. The love he felt for Sophia, mixed with the sadness of not being able to share his life, was a constant torment. Every movement in the corridor, every sound from the maternity ward, made his heart ache even more. James, with his unblemished happiness, took the twins home, embracing the narrative Sabrina had carefully woven. The house was now filled with laughter and joy, and the image of a happy family was a meticulously maintained illusion. For James, everything seemed perfect, a miracle of happiness he believed to be true. He dedicated himself to caring for the twins with paternal zeal, unaware of the emotional complexity surrounding their birth. Sabrina's life, however, was steeped in constant confusion. The love she felt for Mark and Sophia was unquestionable, but each moment with them was tinged with the pain of having to hide the truth. She watched her children grow, struggling to balance the joy of motherhood with the crushing weight of the secret. Each laugh, each milestone in the twins' lives, was a mix of happiness and anguish, a constant reminder of the complexity of her situation. Kevin, on the other hand, lived in a state of constant despair. The pride of knowing Sophia was his daughter was a flame in the darkness, but the pain of not being able to be present was a shadow that loomed over every moment of his life. He kept the secret with iron determination, even if it meant stifling his own feelings and desires. Every gesture of affection he saw from afar, every word of love from Sabrina, was a painful reminder of what he could not have. The balance between James' joy and Kevin's sadness created palpable tension. James lived in a state of fulfillment, embracing family life with enthusiasm, while Kevin remained in the shadows, an absent father forced to endure his own agony. The distance between the two men, one marked by ignorance and the other by silent pain, was a cruel reflection of the reality Sabrina had to face. The stage was now set for an intense emotional drama. Each day was a struggle between apparent happiness and internal pain, between the appearance of a perfect life and the reality of forbidden love and a devastating secret. Sabrina, Kevin, and James were all intertwined in a web of conflicting emotions, where every choice and every action carried the weight of lies and unfulfilled love. As the twins grew and daily interactions unfolded, the complexity of relationships and feelings continued to evolve. The love that Sabrina and Kevin shared, though deep and true, was surrounded by a labyrinth of difficulties and secrets, and the future promised to be as tumultuous as the past that had united them. 13 years had passed since the birth of Mark and Sophia, and life continued to unfold with its routines and challenges. The twins celebrated their 13th birthday with the characteristic innocence of their age, their laughter and play filling the house with a seemingly unshakable brightness. James, with his generous heart, continued to embrace the narrative of the miracle, fervently believing that fate had gifted him with two wonderful children. James had never questioned the origin of the twins, fueled by hope and faith in a divine miracle that seemed to have perfectly shaped his life. For him, the world revolved around his paternal love and the happiness he felt watching his children grow. His naivety was a beacon of light, a sincere belief in the goodness of the universe and the perfection of the family he believed he had built. On the other hand, Sabrina carried an unbearable weight. 13 years of secrets and lies had accumulated in her heart, turning her life into a painful marathon of deception. Each passing day felt like an emotional battlefield, where she fought against the guilt and fear that the truth might come out. James's smile, his unwavering love, and his belief in the miracle were sharp knives in her soul, slowly tearing her apart with the weight of the lie. Sabrina spent her days mentally rehearsing how to reveal the truth to James. She knew she could no longer carry this secret, that the pain inside her had become unbearable. The emotional burden was a dark cloak that enveloped her, and every gesture of affection from James, every word of love, only seemed to increase the weight of her own betrayal. She found herself alone on sleepless nights, tears mixing with anxiety as she thought about how to tell the truth. The thought of facing James, of seeing him lose faith in everything he had believed, was torture in itself. Sabrina's mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The desire to be honest, the need to free herself from the lie, and the fear of devastating the life of the man she loved. With each birthday of the twins, the mask Sabrina wore seemed to become a little tighter. The celebrations were a mix of joy and agony, where James's smile and unconditional love for Mark and Sophia were constantly observed by Sabrina with a blend of pride and suffering. She struggled to maintain the appearance of a perfect family, but the cost was the constant emotional torture of knowing she was living a lie. Kevin, on the other hand, had kept his promise to stay at a distance. He had no direct contact with the children, limiting himself to following Sophia and Mark's growth only through photos and reports that Sabrina sometimes shared indirectly. Kevin respected Sabrina's wish to keep the secret and lived his pain in silence. He watched from afar, his anguish a constant reminder of what he had lost and the love he could not fully experience. Every time Kevin saw a new photo or heard about the twins' progress, he felt a mix of pride and pain. Knowing that Sophia, the daughter he could never raise, was growing up without him was a profound suffering. Every event, every achievement, every word from Sabrina about the children was a stab in his heart, a constant reminder of the unlived love and the distant role he had to play. Finally, the day arrived. Sabrina could no longer bear the weight of her lie. She decided that she needed to reveal the truth to James, that the burden of the lie could no longer be carried alone. The idea of losing James's love and devastating the life he believed he had built was a terrifying prospect, but the desire to be honest, to finally free herself from the prison of secrets, was stronger. With a heavy heart and tear-filled eyes, Sabrina prepared to face the man she loved. The truth was about to be revealed, and the life sustained by lies was about to crumble. James's love and faith would be challenged, and Sabrina would have to face the painful reality of her choices. The night approached, and the future seemed as uncertain as the words Sabrina was about to say. Sabrina had spent weeks rehearsing the words, testing each phrase in her mind, searching for the perfect tone and moment to reveal the truth to James. Each rehearsal was an exercise in preparation for the inevitable confrontation, a confrontation with the truth that consumed her and would inevitably change their lives forever. The decision to tell the truth was an emotional roller coaster. Sabrina prepared for the conversation with Kevin, seeking solace and courage. "I can't take it anymore," she confessed to him, her voice laden with pain. "I need to tell James the truth. My life is not perfect. I can't keep living this lie." Kevin listened attentively, his eyes reflecting the worry and fear he also felt. "You know what this means, don't you?" he asked. "You're going to destroy your perfect life, everything you've built." Sabrina shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. "My life isn't perfect, Kevin. It's a tangle of lies and pain. I need you to be with me. I'm scared of the consequences, but I can't carry this weight alone anymore." Kevin, despite his own fear and anguish, nodded. "I'm with you, Sabrina. I love you, and I'll stand by your side, regardless of the consequences. We'll face this together." With the decision made, Sabrina arranged a dinner for the moment of revelation. James, always cheerful and confident, arrived with a radiant smile. He was eager to spend a pleasant evening with his family and the man Sabrina had mentioned as an important person in their lives. The dinner began on a light note. Sabrina made formal introductions, and the conversation flowed naturally. With each passing minute, the weight of the truth seemed to grow for Sabrina, and her hands trembled slightly as she tried to stay calm. When the right moment arrived, Sabrina took a deep breath and began to speak. "James," she said, "there's something very important I need to tell you, something I can no longer bear." James looked at Sabrina with his usual calm, a look that expressed trust and love. Sabrina continued, her voice choked with emotion. "Kevin is the father of our children. Mark and Sophia are not your biological children. Kevin and I had a relationship, and when I got pregnant, it was with him. I lied to you, and that's something I can no longer carry." She detailed the story, explaining how it all began and how the secret had unfolded over the years. The weight of her words seemed to fill the room with palpable tension. Sabrina looked at James, expecting to see anger or sadness, but his gaze was serene and contemplative. James listened to the confession with impressive calm. After a moment of silence, he spoke, his voice laden with restrained emotion. "Sabrina, I always knew about the relationship between you and Kevin. I also knew the children weren't biologically mine. I was never deceived." James's revelation left Sabrina stunned. She had expected anger, but what she heard was surprising understanding. "James," he continued, "the way I dealt with it was my way of compensating you for hiding from you that I had fertility problems. I knew it was important to you, and I wanted to do it for us." He turned to Kevin with a respectful look. "Kevin, I invite you to be part of our children's lives as a family friend. You will be present at all birthdays and important events. However, to spare us all, I would like to keep these truths only among us." James then turned to Sabrina, his gaze full of love and firmness. "Sabrina, I love you and our family. Despite everything that has happened, I want to live a full life by your side as my wife, with no more secrets. I accept Kevin as a friend, not as a lover. Is that okay with you?" James's words deeply touched Sabrina, who was in tears. She felt both relief and pain, and with a lump in her throat, she replied, "Yes, James, I accept to live life by your side." Kevin, understanding the new role offered to him, nodded sadly. "I accept being just a family friend. I'll be there for my children, and I will respect your decision." The dinner continued in a tone of reevaluation and acceptance, with the promise of a future where love and truth could coexist, even with new challenges. Sabrina and James were ready to rebuild their lives, while Kevin remained close to the children who would soon turn 14, maintaining a bond that, although not what he had imagined, still allowed him to be present.